Hello everyone, I am Giovanna Yu and I am a blockchain consultant. In this lecture, we will talk about how the blockchain can be used into the high fashion industry, creating new opportunities for stylists as well as guaranteeing authenticity for both sellers and buyers, and bringing transparency and efficiency in the supply chain. We will firstly see the three main issues faced by people who work in the high fashion industry. We will talk about the technology they use to overcome these problems, which are smart contracts, digital tokens, and other technologies such as radio frequency identification or RFID. In the last part, with the support of a case study, we will see in details how a blockchain works. After this lecture, you will be able to have a deeper understanding on how the blockchain can be used in the high fashion industry. People who work in the high fashion industry face three major issues. The first one is that uncertified and unregistered drafts or drawings can be easily copied by other stylists or stolen by competing companies. The second problem happens when customers buy fake replicas of clothes without even noticing the differences. The third issue is the inability, or better said, the hardship that needs to be solved to track securely each piece of clothing in the production process, starting from the raw materials. Combining the use of smart contracts, digital tokens, and other technologies, such as RFID, more opportunities and frontiers are created in the high fashion industry. In fact, these tools guarantee the protection of the intellectual property, they verify the authenticity of the clothing, and they provide information to customers about the materials, the place, and the methods used in the production process. But before analyzing how the blockchain works, we need to understand two main concepts: decentralization of information and the concept of digital keys. In general terms, decentralization is a network consisting of peer-to-peer interactions, so that it is not managed by a central party. Anyone can access the network, and each user receives a copy of the information that are recorded in the public ledger, also known as the blockchain. Since everyone has a copy of the information, it is really hard to manipulate the data because an individual will need to hack all the servers in the network to persuade the majority of the people to adjust their ledgers. Talking about the digital keys, in a blockchain network, the public key is used to create the public address. You can think of it as your username, and it is used to receive encrypted information from other users. On the other hand, the private key is used by the receiver to decrypt the message and to make sure that the origin of the transactions is legitimate. So, like your personalized PIN, you use it to enter your account and read the messages you receive from other people. Let's now move on the blockchain and see how it works and how it processes the information. The most basic definition of the blockchain is a shared, digitalized public ledger that stores information, which cannot be changed after they have been verified and recorded. This technology owes its name to how it operates and to the way it stores the information. In fact, the blockchain collects and stores the data into packaged blocks, which are cryptographically linked with previously created blocks containing similar information. The first thing that happens in the process is that the data are created by the users who are part of the network. These data are then transformed into blocks of information, which are sent out to all servers, which have dedicated participants responsible in processing the information and verifying their authenticity. After this stage, the servers on the network reach a consensus so that the blocks of information can be added to the chain. Remember that the blocks of information can be added or altered only when they have been validated by the majority of the users. These blocks are put in a chronological order, So the last one is attached to the block containing the most recent information. Now, anyone can access the data. But what are these data about? In addition to data uploaded by the users, the most important types of information stored on the blockchains are the ones related to three categories. First, the date and the time when the digital message was sent out from one server to the other. The blockchain also stores all the information regarding transactions, which can be related to a transfer of money, ownership, or physical products. Second, the identities of the users from which the messages are sent and received. Third, a cryptographic fingerprint to secure the data from being altered. Moreover, there are two additional functions that some blockchains offer: smart contracts and the use of digital tokens. The smart contract is an agreement in computer code forms between the involved parties. These contracts run on the blockchain, so they are stored on the public ledger where they cannot be changed and are available to the entire community. Instead, a digital token on the blockchain is a piece of digital information registered on the public ledger, which is associated to a specific user on the network or a particular transaction. It generally represents real assets or utility. Because of the blockchain, it is possible to talk about digital scarcity for the first time, where, in this context, the term scarcity refers to how the digital assets are uniquely assigned to a specific real asset. For example, if you have a Gucci dress, which is the real asset, you can create a digital token that is unique to that dress. The blockchain ensures the security, the authenticity, and the transparency of data because it is a shared structure that makes unauthorized alteration to the protected object easily detected. The blockchain also contains a timestamp system, which records the time and the date when the last block of information was attached to the chain, preventing manipulation. Another feature related to the blockchain is the concept of redundancy. In other words, there is always a backup for lost or ruined data. Because of these properties, the information stored on the blockchain can be used as reliable proof on court to fight for or against a case, since they are objectively collected and cannot be modified. Lastly, the third additional functions that some blockchains offer is the use of RFID, which is a technology that tracks products through radio frequency. To be more clear, anything that has the RFID tag on it or on its packaging can be easily and securely tracked and kept under control. The collected information is then added to the blockchain, which is available for anyone for viewing. So far, we have seen the basic concept and the way blockchain works, but if you remember, at the beginning of the lecture, we have outlined 3 issues in the fashion industry. Now, let's focus on how we can use technologies to solve them using an example: the platform that Nextseed Edge, a company based in Milan that develops blockchain solutions, has been working on since 2018. The platform is called Dahlia. Dahlia combines the use of blockchains with smart contracts, digital tokens, and RFID to track pieces of clothing, certify drafts and drawings, and verify the authenticity of the products sold on the market. Therefore, Dahlia is a platform that could revolutionize the high fashion industry. Now assume that an artist is starting a new project. With the help of Dahlia, the artist or the designer, in the first stage of the creation of the drafts, can create a secure and encrypted legal proof that shows the starting date of the project. In fact, drawings, pictures, and sketches can all be stored in a digital token and then saved on the blockchain. It is as easy as uploading a file. First of all, a new project has to be created. Secondly, the file that wants to be certified has to be selected. Then, the form with the required data has to be filled. Eventually, an encrypted version of the file is saved on the blockchain, and the digital token is created. Using Dahlia, the stylist can create unique pieces of clothing, limited edition or full collections. In fact, for each piece of clothing, a unique digital token is created. This digital token is marked with a digital signature, which secures the authenticity of the projects and avoids the project to be copied, falsified, or modified. And it is inserted into a RFID tag. The digital token also registers the movements of the clothes along the supply chain in the production process to finally reach the consumer. This information will be public and freely accessible for anyone. With this practical example, we conclude this lecture. Thank you very much for your attention. We hope you were able to have a deeper understanding on how the blockchain can be used in the high fashion industry.